Yes, it is Ronald, R-O-N-A-L-D S-L-U-S-S.
Good afternoon, Detective Sluss.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can you tell the jurors how you were currently employed, sir?
I'm a detective with the Atlanta Police Department.
And how long have you worked with the Atlanta Police Department?
Since 2006.
Okay. And you said you're a detective. Where are you currently assigned within the Atlanta Police Department?
To our Homeland Security and Intelligence Unit.
Okay. And prior to working with the Homeland Security and Intelligence Unit, can you tell the jurors, were you a detective in any other units within the Atlanta Police Department?
Yes, I was.
Where?
So before I was in Homeland, I was in homicide for about 6 years. Before that, I was in the Special Victims Unit, concentrating on cold case sex crimes for about 6 years. And then prior to that, I worked as just a regular officer.
Can you tell the jurors a little bit about some of the roles and responsibilities that you play as a detective with the Homeland Security and Intelligence Unit?
So obviously we do a lot of intelligence work. We work on terroristic threats. We work on domestic terrorism, extortion, public corruption, like dirty cops, dirty politicians. One of the big things is cybersecurity. One of my particular specialties is in call detail record analysis and also digital evidence.
And is it common for yourself as a detective in that unit and other detectives in your unit to assist other units within the Atlanta Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Specifically, is it very common that you assist detectives in the homicide unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors how you assist detectives within the homicide unit and why it's important?
So, well, this is a little bit longer of a story because it's a good story. When I was a relatively new detective, trying to solve cases and trying to figure things out, I got into cell phone information. So, if you were to develop a couple different people that might be involved in a crime, be able to use their cell phone records to be able to see if their device was operating in the area of that crime or whether or not. So whether you can confirm that that's somebody that you want to talk to, or you can dispel it and say that, you know what, they weren't there, we don't have to worry about it. And as far as being able to help, once I learned how to do that for my own cases in special victims, I started helping other detectives. And then as I moved on to homicide, I started doing it for my cases in homicide, started helping out other detectives in homicide and other units as well. And then when I got to Homeland Security, kind of specializing more in that realm, I started helping out pretty much everybody around the Atlanta Police Department and other metro agencies.
And talk about how you help out. Can you kind of tell the jurors specifically how you, I guess, investigate your specifically violent crimes or homicides using cell phone technology and cell phone call detail records?
Okay, so let's say a detective is working a case and they have a person of interest, right? Somebody they think that might be involved or might have been a witness, or it might even be somebody who is kidnapped, right? And they come to me and say, hey, I've ordered this person's cell phone records. Can you tell me this is the date and time and location of where my incident occurred? Is their cell phone operating in that area, or are they completely somewhere else? So what I would do is I take the information that they got, and I would get it from my own cases too, from the cell phone providers themselves, and then we would sit there and we would go through the dates and times of interest, and then see if they're operating off the towers that are close to the crime scene. And we'll get a little bit more into that as I go kind of through my presentation, and we can even see directional sides from that tower that device might be on while it's utilizing that tower.
And can you tell the jurors in your years working in the homicide unit as well as the unit you're currently assigned with Homeland Security, how often you utilize cell phone technology and cell phone call detail records and cell site location data in investigations that you've worked and assisted?
Pretty much everyone that I was the lead detective on, I pretty much got cell phone records for it, all right, because that's just a great way to be able to help, again, confirm or dispel whether that person was in the area at the time. And now that I've gotten to the point where I'm in Homeland Security and I'm kind of focused on that, it's pretty much a daily occurrence with the call detail records.
Can you tell the jurors your work with using cellular technology and assisting, whether it be your case or somebody else's case, do you use that data throughout all parts of the investigation?
Yeah. You can use that to be able to tell where they were before, where they were after, where they were there during the actual incident. You can tell whether people are communicating with each other, whether the victim knew the suspect, or whether if you have multiple co-defendants, whether they knew each other and they're constantly communicating. How often are they communicating? Whether they're using calls or whether they're using text messages. So it's a great way to be able to see who knows who and where they are when they're talking to each other.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, in order to do that, your, I guess, the background as it relates to the training that you received in order to utilize cell phone technology and call detail records and cell site location information in your investigation?
So when I first started using it, I was just a regular detective in SVU, and I come up with a case where I had two people that I had developed as suspects. Right, one said that he was there and he had a really good alibi. The other one said I was with my wife and we were in South Carolina at the time, and I was. They looked similar. I didn't have any DNA evidence at the time. Eventually we did, but I didn't really know what else to do. So I was sitting there going to other senior detectives and other people, and they actually hooked me up with the FBI. And the FBI has a group. They're called the CAST unit. It's Cellular Analysis and Survey Team. And they have developed a way to be able to systematically use cell phone technology to be able to see where people have been possibly in the past and whether you can predict where they're going to be in the future, especially when you're talking about people are trying to apprehend, where's home, where the girlfriend's home, all that stuff. So started working with the FBI then, and then as soon as I did that, it started leading into training classes with the FBI, and that's been a focus of mine ever since. So pretty much biannually, I go and train with the FBI. I've also trained with the DEA. I've trained with the Secret Service, all using the exact same technology.
The training that you just referred to, do you continue to update your training based on the changes in technology?
Yes, sir, of course.
Can you explain to the jurors, I know it's common sense, but why the update in the training based on the ever-evolving technology is so important to what you do?
So, the way that, all right, we're going to kind of get into the weeds a little bit. So the way that your cell phone records information. So when you have an account, you have a telephone number, you have an IMEI number, that's the actual like social security number to your phone, you got subscriber information, that's your account number. There's all these different things that are there. And the way that they actually record those can change over time. All right. And then you also have companies that get bought out, like Sprint. I don't know if you guys ever had Sprint cell phones before. They got bought up by T-Mobile. So now they merged from one company to the other. And as they start recording different things, they merge together. The way that they record their information changes. So constantly working with the FBI and working with the network engineers from T-Mobile, Verizon, Sprint, US Cellular, and AT&T allows us to understand how they're recording it so we can interpret it correctly.
Okay. And can you tell me, based on all the stuff that you just referred to that you're trained on and that you use to assist in not only your investigation but other detectives with the Atlanta Police Department and other agencies, how often or how many times have you testified in court as an expert as it relates to that topic?
Over the last 5 years, probably north of about 30 times as an expert on different trials.
You're going to have this time the state will tender Detective Sluss as an expert in historical cell phone data and interpretation of the cell site location analysis.
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
So declared.
Now, Detective Sluss, can you tell the jurors, did you assist and use your expertise that you've just spoken about as it relates to cell phone technology and cell site location information in a case involving the death of Thomas Arnold back in February 25th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you requested to do so by the lead detective, Detective Parent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors when your assistance is requested, the items that you typically receive in order to complete your analysis and interpretation of the information that you're reviewing?
Yes, sir.
And what typically are you
So as we get information back from the cell phone providers, we're looking for subscriber information. That includes, if it's not a prepaid phone, who's paying the bill. It might not tell you who's using it, but it'll tell you at least who's paying the bill. We're looking at the actual call detail records, they're called tolls. So that's your incoming and outgoing phone calls, your ingoing and outgoing text messages, the data use that you're using, the towers that you're touching while you're Instagram is running in the background, and that's also timing advance, which is more of an engineering record, but it's how the network kind of communicates with your device kind of in between phone calls and text messages. So it kind of knows where your device is at.
And as it relates to that information, do you get information from here, the lead detective, detective parent, times of interest and locations or points of interest?
Yes, sir.
And can you explain to the jurors the times of interest and the points or location of interest, how they're important to or are related to the specific investigation and analysis you're doing for the call detail records and the cell site location information?
Sure. So I don't know if you've ever driven down the highway. You're looking up, you see a cell phone tower, right? Everybody's seen them. They're great on the highways because they're easily seen. If you're down here in downtown Atlanta, you might see them on the side of buildings. You might see them on the side of a water tower. You might see them on the top of a telephone pole. And if we know a location of an incident, all right, we're looking at what devices are using the cell phone towers around that incident, right? So we're going to look at possibly getting cell phone records from a suspect. Okay, is that suspect's phone operating off of one of those close towers at the time of the crime and close to where your crime scene is?
And when you're, as it relates to this case, and the information that you reviewed, did you create a presentation to help explain your testimony to the jurors here today?
Yes, sir. I certainly did.
And I just handed you what the marked state exhibit 136 and 136A. Do you recognize those exhibits, sir?
Yes, sir. This is a printout of my PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. And then as it relates to states in 136A, is that your PowerPoint presentation in the digital format?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, the state attorney will remark that states exhibits 136 and 136A in evidence.
I'd object. I have no problem with it being used as a demonstrative exhibit, but as far as admission as a exhibit, I would object to that.
That's fine. We will admit it for demonstrative purposes, Your Honor.
Okay, subject to that, we will admit it. You may publish.
Thank you. Now, before we get into your presentation, Detective Sluss, can you tell the jurors, did you review the cell phone records for what was communicated to you belonging to Brandon Williams, Demetrius Ross, and someone that you only knew as Tebu?
Yes, sir.
At this time, the state is going to tender with the marked the state's exhibits 137, 138, and 139 evidence as self-authenticating documents that were provided via this record certification.
Any objection?
Oh, no objection.
So admit it.
Your Honor, just an objection on behalf of I don't know if I've received.
Am I talking too fast? I got you. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, if I could just have a moment to review.
You want to put them on a computer?
Yes, Your Honor, I need a player.
You going to play it on his laptop?
I have one.
All right, let's take a 10-minute break, please. Please step out. Please be seated. You may take a few minutes to review that.
Thank you.
Ross, State's Exhibit 138, cell phone record for Brandon Williams, and State's Exhibit 139 for the records for TAB 00-770-686-5979.
So admitted, you may publish.
Thank you, Judge. Now, on the screen in a second will be your presentation. Detective Sluss, while that's getting pulled up, can you explain to the jurors a little bit about the first steps that you take when you are asked to assist an investigation as it relates to cell phone records and cell site location information?
Sure. So the first thing that you want to know is you want to know a location of where your crime scene happened, or at least the areas of interest that you care about. Number two, you want a date that it actually occurred on, and you want a time that it occurred on. Those are the three most important things that you're going to have, because you're going to base your analysis off of that.
Is that what we're seeing in the first slide?
No, you're just looking at a pretty picture with my name on it. So as we go through here, so just in the case details, obviously you guys have already seen this because you've gone through all your witnesses, but we're here for a murder. Thomas Arnold was our victim. 341 Elizabeth Street was the closest location where it happened. The actual murder occurred on February 25th, 2022, and Detective Parent was the lead. And then I'm the guy who gets to tell you guys about cell phones.
Can you tell the jurors when you do that, what is typically the purpose of the analysis that you do after receiving that information and the call detail records and the other information you're going to review and analyze?
Sure. So, I mean, it depends on what process of the investigation that you're in. A lot of times people or detectives will come to me like, hey, I have this person of interest. I have their cell phone records. Can you just tell me whether you can rule them in or rule them out that they were near the crime scene at the time? Sure, no problem. So we'll go take that information and then we can visualize that information. I'll show you in just a minute. And to be able to tell whether they were in the area or not. That way they can either further investigate that person, or they can put that person off to the side unless they get more information. If you're talking about, hey, this person is the person I know that did it, I just need you to make sure and kind of layer the cake of evidence. And what I mean by layering a cake of evidence, like as a detective, you know, you're going to have your crime scene information, you're going to have your ballistics information, you're going to have your witness accounts, you're going to have maybe surveillance video, GPS locations. There's a lot of stuff that you go onto, and you layer this cake of evidence to make sure everything matches up. So when we're talking about cell phone, and we're going to get into that, when we're talking about cell phone records, we're talking about take the information that you already know, and then use the cell phone records of the people that you believe involved, marry those up, and see if it matches out. If it marries up, that's a good indication that you can believe that other evidence. If it doesn't, now we have questions. Now we have to answer questions.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, I think the next slide in your presentation is about call detail records. Or what are call detail records?
Sure. So your cell phone provider basically keeps records on you, and it's not to track you or to spy on you or anything else like that. They want to make sure that they get paid, basically. And it was more so back in the day when they actually got paid per call or paid per minute. But what they do is they'll have information. They'll have your name, your address. They'll have how you pay your bill, your telephone number, different indicators or identifiers on your device or your account number. They keep that. They also keep a set of records of tolls. Every phone call you make, every phone call you receive, every text message you send, every text message you receive. And they also have other engineering records that we'll talk about that call timing advance.
And those records record, like you said, tolls or phone calls. Can you kind of explain to the jurors, and I think you do in the next slide, how your handset or your cellular phone kind of communicates with the network and the towers and things of that nature?
Okay, so that little $1,200 device that you have in your pocket does 4 things, all right? Some better than others, all right? Number one, it's a computer, all right? Pretty much every smartphone, pretty much everything since about 2012 is a computer. Legitimately, you could fly to the moon with this technology. Also, it's a camera, and a dang good camera. They usually are a whole lot better than most of your cameras out there that you can buy at Best Buy. On top of that, it also is a cellular device. It makes phone calls, takes text messages, and that's what it does the worst out of everything. But we're talking about just different things that it actually does itself. So what your device does is it uses radio frequency to be able to communicate with the network. So that's the wireless part of it, right? So your device is talking to the network, sending out RF waves, okay? And that's how it's communicating. The ones and zeros on those RF waves go up to the tower, it gets digitized, it goes into the network, they put it back together, it comes out on the other side, and your voice is heard by the next person, or your text message image, or whatever it may be. All right?
And can you tell us a little bit about what you just described and how that relates to the network system or the specific network in which the cell phone is kind of communicating with?
Okay, so this is how everything works. So this is kind of the schematic of everything. So you got your wireless device, and that's most of what is wired. Everything else is wired. So your device is going to talk to a tower, okay? Now here's the cool thing about your device. Your device picks which tower it talks to. The network doesn't. Your device does, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So it goes from your device to the tower, and then there's a group of towers, okay? Like an area range of towers. It goes into that switch, and then it goes into the main switch. That's the main computer, the brains of the operation, okay? And then what happens when you dial your mom's phone number and then you hit send, all right, what it's going to do is it's going to take those RF waves to the tower, to the group, to the switch, and then it's going to figure out which device it's going to go, and it's going to retrace that back from the switch to the group of towers that your mom's phone was last interacting with, then back to that tower, and then to her phone. And now you have a call or a text message or data, and we can talk about that. The only thing that really changes is if we have to shift over from one network to another, but that's only one extra step. So if I've got T-Mobile, you've got T-Mobile, it's device, tower, group, switch, reverse. Now, if it's your AT&T and I'm T-Mobile, it's basically device, tower, group, switch, and then we retrace it back to you.
And based on that technology, can you kind of explain to us the cell phone towers that you talked about earlier, typically where they can be, where they are, and how they work and communicate with the network as well as the handset of the cell phone?
Sure. So remember we were talking about when you're driving down the highway, it's a great place to be able to look at cell phone towers because they're big, they're ugly, and they sit up there in the air. They're easy to spot. The ones that are on side of buildings, believe it or not, unless you're a geek like me who really likes cell phones, you're probably not looking for them. You might see them from time to time. And then as you kind of get more into the cell phone technology, you'll start seeing them pop up on all kinds of different things. Little tiny 5G that probably won't make it a quarter mile. But we got the big ones as well. Now, if we know that information, and I don't mean to just cut you off here, let's talk about the cell sites. So when we're looking at a tower, generally speaking in the United States and most of America, all right, you're going to have a tower, an indication or a location, and then you're going to have multiple antennas on it. In the Atlanta market, you pretty much have 3 antennas per cell phone tower. Now, the reason we have 3 antennas per cell phone tower is one antenna listens to all the traffic in a 120-degree radius. That's its area of responsibility, right? All right. The other antenna on that tower is going to look in the next 120 degrees, right? And then all the way around. That way you've now got 360 degrees of coverage for that cell phone tower so everybody surrounding that cell phone tower can talk to it. Now, if I know which antenna it's talking to, not only do I now know where the tower's at, I know the direction from where that tower is talking to. So that's what really helps us in our investigations. If I've got a tower and I know the location, and I got an antenna and I know the direction, all right, is the person that I'm interested in the direction away from that cell phone tower that matches my crime scene?
Okay. And as it relates to that, can you talk a little bit about, I think you do on the next slide,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about the sectors and the direction that you kind of referred to, the aspects?
So again, pretty much every cell phone tower, there's actually one in our presentation that's Omni, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we'll have the 3 different sectors, all right? The cell phone companies in the records are going to give us that information. It's going to give us the GPS of where the tower is. It's going to give us the name of the antenna, and it's going to give us the azimuth, the direction it's facing. So I'll give you an example. So let's say I'm a cell phone tower, right? And I'm pointing exactly at 0 degrees, all right, northbound. All right, they're going to give me my location in 0 degrees, and they're going to say it's got 120 degrees area of operation. So I can add 60 and subtract 60, and that's where that device is listening to from that antenna. Now, if we know that, we can map that out. So if I know the location and I know the direction, now I can basically take that information and put it into a picture that my mind can conceptualize.
Now, you
Sure. So the first set of records we were talking about is your tolls. It's the incoming, outgoing phone calls, incoming, outgoing emails, and then the data that you're using, your apps that you're using in the background. Now, that is what they collect. They also collect a thing called timing advance. All right. Timing advance is the network talking to your device in between what's going on. And here's the reason. Your device is playing a Marco Polo game with all the surrounding cell phone towers, okay? Your device is screaming Marco, and the towers are screaming Polo. Now, the reason that they do that is that when you do type in your mom's phone number and you hit the little green button for send, it knows, hey, this is the towers that we're going to use, and then we know where mom's device is. Now we know which place to send the signal for mom to answer the device, okay? It gets a little bit more complicated than that, but that's generally what we're talking about. It's just basically your device knowing where the towers are, and the towers know where your device is. That way everything marries up. That way the calls don't get dropped, and you can't reach your mom or 911 or anything else.
Now, I think your next slide is an example of kind of how the device and the tower kind of communicate, and how you're able to use that to determine the location of the cell site, or excuse me, the cell tower in which the phone is communicating with.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, at this point, can I stand up to kind of show the jury?
Certainly.
Okay. I'm going to try to speak loud. So in those records, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the E-No-D. That's the actual antenna itself, right? So that's from the records. We got the location. We got the latitude and longitude. All right. So we know that. So here's our latitude and longitude. All right. And the name of this antenna is 173199. Okay. That antenna has an azimuth of 0. Remember how I said 0 is pointing directly north? You can see that if this is the cell phone tower, that's the antenna. You'd have two other antennas equally in this direction, but the one that it's communicating with is in this direction. So if I know where my crime scene is, I know where my tower's at, and I know where the device is communicating with that antenna, I can say that that device is operating somewhere in this general vicinity. Now, if I had somebody of interest that was there, I would want to know whether that device was actually communicating with that tower in that direction.
Right. And in this instance, in the assistance you requested via by detective parent, you tell the jurors, I guess, the point of interest or the crime scene that was most important to you, part of the investigation and your analysis.
Yes, sir. So we are looking at 341 Elizabeth Street. That is over off the Beltline near Emmon Park. And again, it's an arbitrary number. That's not exactly where the body was found, but it's closest to where the body was found.
And after receiving that address or the incident location address that was closest to where Mr. Arnold was found, we talked a little bit about the call detail records or the cell phone records for Brandon Williams as well as Demetrius Ross and Taboo. Can you tell the jurors, as a part of that information, do you receive subscribers' information and what that is?
Yes. So Detective Parent actually wrote search warrants for those call detail records or the information from those cellular providers. She was able to get those, and then since I'm the person who can actually, put it into a presentation, she was like, "Can you at least tell me whether these are actually operating in that area?"
Okay. And on your next slide, can you tell the jurors the cell phone number, the handset number, or number associated with the handset that you were provided as it relates to Brandon Williams?
Sure. So Detective Parent was able to get a phone number that she believed was associated with Brandon Williams. It's the 470-920-7356. Now, it's a T-Mobile number, and T-Mobile provides their records in UTC. Let me talk a little bit about UTC. So UTC is Universal Coordinated Time. It's Zulu time. If you're from the military, if you're European, it's Greenwich Mean Time, but basically it's London time minus wherever you are. So I'll give you an example. So if it's 5 o'clock in the morning in London and in the United States, and let's say New York City, it'd be midnight. So we're just subtracting numbers. So they're put it into a universal system that anybody can look around with the world, and then we do the subtractions ourselves. So when we look at the raw records, it might show 5 hours difference or 4 hours difference between whether we're on standard time or the other time. But for this particular presentation, I put everything into local time.
Okay. And did you do the similar, or did you receive and do the similar same thing as it relates to the records for Demetrius Ross, also T-Mobile records?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell the jurors, before we get to Mr. Ross, I believe the next one, Mr. Ross, what is the phone number of the handset, the number that is associated with the handset for Mr. Ross's phone?
Okay, so Mr. Ross's phone is going to be 404-451-0825.
And can you tell the jurors the number that you had been given that was associated with Taboo?
Oh, yes, sir. That'll be on the next slide. This one's a different one, but the very first two were both T-Mobile. This one right here is Verizon. It's 770-686-5979, and this is just a prepaid phone in the box. It doesn't actually have subscriber information.
Now, would you give it a date as a time frame that was most, I guess, important as it relates to the analysis you were doing as a part of the investigation?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell the jurors what that date and around, I guess, the general time frame you were given for your investigatory purposes?
Sure. So the 911 call came up where police were dispatched on February 26th in the early morning hours, and then based on her investigation, she figured out, or she believed that the actual murder to taken place right around 10:30ish p.m. on the 25th.
Okay. And based on that information and the call detail records you had for Mr. Williams, Mr. Ross, and the person who was known as Taboo, what did you do next as it relates to the call detail records and using cell site?
Okay. So what I did was I took the raw data that I would just get from the cell phone companies, the spreadsheets of all the raw data, and then I'm going to take that. I'm going to take the tower information that I know from those particular places, and then I'm going to visually put together, hey, this is how these device numbers or devices were interacting with the network around the time of the murder. So I want to be able to show the lead detective, whether it be Perrin or any other lead detective, hey, this is what it's looking like for your cell phones.
And using the raw data, how are you able to do that? So how are you able to, place handset near or close to a location or a tower?
Sure. So we're going to pick a time. We're going to pick an event, all right, that they actually capture, whether it be a phone call, whether it be timing advance, or whatever it might be. And then we're going to take that information from the raw records. We're going to look for the tower. And we're going to get that GPS. Then we're going to look for the name of the E-node B, which would be the antenna. All right, we're going to look for the azimuth, the direction, okay? And then we're going to take that one data record and see, okay, if I know where the tower is here and I know that the direction's this way, is that device acting in the direction of that crime scene?
And, did you do that for, starting with Mr. Williams' records and then also do that with Mr. Ross and the phone number associated with?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If we start with, I guess it looks like the first call that you brought in Mr. Williams was 9:28 p.m. on February 25th, 2022.
Yes, sir. So this one right here was actually the last phone call he made before the murder. There's going to be other data records like timing advance, but for his device, the last one that we were able to get is at 9:28 p.m. He's getting an incoming phone call for 2 minutes and 14 seconds. All right. We know the location. Again, you'll see the Latin lawn, you'll see the azimuth, and then we're able to say that, okay, his device is somewhere northeast of where that cell phone tower is. And that's roughly about an hour before the murder.
Okay. And as it relates to activity on Mr. Taboo's handset, can you explain to the jurors what we're depicting in the next slide?
Okay. So at 9:29, a minute later, Taboo's device, which is a Verizon device, receives an incoming phone call. All right, that's a 48-second phone call. We know the location again for the tower. We know the direction of the azimuth, and it matches up in the same general direction and area that Mr. Brandon Williams' device was operating in, about a minute apart.
Okay. And would you, looking at the information you just gave us in prior slide as it relates to Mr. Williams and the last call that you were able to see he made from his handset, and then the information that you just told the jurors about Taboo's device here at 9:29, are those consistent areas of the location, them being together?
They could be together, or they're at least in the same general vicinity.
And how do you know that?
Because, I'm looking at like just the area of the cell phone tower, and then the direction from that cell phone tower, it matches up in the same area. So what I'm going to do as a detective, I'm going to take information that I get from the investigation to see whether that matches my cell phone records.
Okay. And then at 9:30, was there activity on Mr. Ross's phone?
Yes. So Mr. Ross's phone, this one's a little bit different. So this is an actual phone call. This is the timing advance. This is the Marco Polo I was telling you guys about earlier, because he's not actually making a phone call around this time. But we took that information and then we were able to find the tower and then the direction of that tower. And it's just west of near that same place where those other towers are.
And could you kind of explain to the jurors how signal strength plays a role in which tower your handset utilizes in an area like the city of Atlanta?
Sure. So I'll give you an example. So that Marco Polo that we were talking about. So you said earlier that your device picks which tower it's going to use. All right. And the reason it's doing that is because of that Marco Polo. So your device is constantly listening to all the other towers around it. Okay. And then it's basically creating a list, loudest to quietest. Okay. And it's basically going to always pick the loudest. All right. Well, it pretty much will always pick the loudest because it doesn't ever want to drop a phone call. It's optimizing the phone network. I don't know if you guys remember the old, was it Verizon commercials? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? That's the reason that your devices do that, because it doesn't want to drop that call because it want to keep you paying $100 a month for your cell phone bill.
And is that the reason that if two people are together and let's say they're both utilizing their handsets or their cell phone at the same time, but one is utilizing one tower and then the other one is utilizing a tower close in proximity? Is that why they could be on different towers even though they're together?
Sure, that, and also on you're talking about different towers. You're talking about different networks. So one cell phone tower might have one provider on. It might just have T-Mobile, or it might have T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. So it's just the way that everything matches up. And if I were to make a phone call and you, sir, were to make a phone call, my device is going to determine which one is the loudest signal and yours is too. You might have a tree in your way that I don't based on my line of sight, and we might pick two completely different towers, all right, even though we are standing literally 50 feet apart.
And does, for example, your city of Atlanta is a much larger area than, let's say, South Georgia. Does that affect the number of towers that are within close proximity to each other?
Sure. So population density is a big driving factor on how close cell phone towers are. So if you are down in South Georgia, they might be miles away. All right. If you are in Metro Atlanta, they're probably less than a mile away. If you are in downtown Atlanta, they are blocks away from each other.
Can you tell me what you're able to determine as it relates to Mr. Ross's phone during the activity at 9:57 p.m. the next slide?
Okay. So 9:57, pretty much same area of operation. Again, he's not making a phone call, but we're actually able to use that Marco Polo, the timing advance, to be able to see that his device is operating in the area that would service the area of the crime scene.
And at 10:05, just a few minutes later, can you explain to the jurors the activity that you are seeing and the location of the handset as it relates to Brandon Williams' technology will pick up?
Sure. So, and this is another good thing. So again, this is the timing advance. This is the Marco Polo in between phone calls. And basically it is using a different tower, but in the same direction, in the same general vicinity of our crime scene.
And what about the next slide as it relates to at 10:32 for the number associated with taboo?
So this one right here, again, is a Verizon one. It's a different tower than the others, but you'll see how it's a circle. I remember how I said there was, you basically have sectors of responsibility. Every now and then you're going to get an Omni tower. Now, an Omni tower is just basically a small tower in the area, and it will take communications from any single direction whatsoever, all right? And I can't tell you what side of the tower it's operating on, but I can tell you that it's in the area of Inman Park.
And as it relates to the activity a few minutes later for Brandon Williams' handset, can you explain to the jurors what we are seeing here?
Again, we're seeing another timing advance incident. It's at 10:40 p.m. It's utilizing a tower just north, but again, in the same direction of your crime scene.
And as you, from the previous slide, the 10:32 activity as it relates to the phone number associated with taboo, is that consistent? That slide as relates to taboo, and the next one for 10:40 for Brandon Williams, is that consistent with them traveling together?
I wouldn't necessarily traveling together, but what I would say is take the information that you have, your witness statements and your video, all right? And then if you got information that these two devices are together. You're seeing cell phone records that would corroborate that information.
And are we seeing that same sort of activity in the next slide as it relates to Demetrius Ross?
Yes, sir. So again, different tower, same general direction of my crime scene.
And at 11:02, can you tell us about the outgoing call that was made by the handset associated with the taboo device?
Yes. So again, this will be a 5-second outgoing voice call using a tower just southeast of the crime scene location, but in the same direction of the crime scene.
Now, can you explain to the jurors kind of big picture, the conclusion of your conclusions based on the analysis you kind of just explained to them as it relates to the handsets we've been talking about for Mr. Williams, Mr. Ross, and the taboo handset?
Sure. So the detective parent was able to tell me dates and times of instances around the Emmons Park location from about 9:30 until after the murder, and the three people or the three devices that she believes might be involved. And then I'm able to sit there and take that information, and she says, I have witness that says that they're there. I have video that looks like them, that they're there, and are the cell phones matching up? And I can tell you, yes, the cell phones match up with the evidence that she's provided to me so far.
Any further questions, sir?
Towers handle hundreds of cell phones at a time. And in this case, you only plotted the ones you were asked to plot, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And it's a fairly general direction. Like I said, 120 degrees, it gives you an azimuth that says it's in that direction, but it doesn't tell you the exact distance from the tower, does it?
Doesn't tell you the exact distance, no. Some timing advance will give you an estimated distance because of the engineering part of it, but it just kind of, it gives you a general direction.
All right, so it's possible with what we just saw that although you said the three phones in the same area, one may be at one point on the Beltline and another phone might be 100 yards away and still be registering the same direction.
I mean, there's thousands of cell phones within that area of operations for that one thing. I'm just trying to be able to take the information that she gave me. Hey, these are three phones that are important to me. This is my crime scene location. This is the evidence that I've got. Does it match up?
All right. And just for clarification, you're not saying that the information you just provided places anyone on Beach Circle at any specific time?
No, this is the layered cake information. You're taking the information that you already got. Now you're going to layer this over. Does it match or not? It's a corroboratory piece of evidence.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
May this witness?
One question. Mr. Norman asked you about being at Beach Circle. The analysis that you did, is it consistent with them being in the area of the crime scene where Beach Circle is located?
Yeah, all the devices are in that same operational area. I mean, it's so close that, of course, it'd be the same information.
Or at the time that Detective Parent believed that the homicide occurred?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
And just, I guess, one follow-up based on that question.
Sure.
What is the operational area?
You talking about near the area of, so you have a location, right? And then we've seen what, 1, 2, 3, 4 different cell phone towers, right?
Okay.
And if you notice the operational direction of every one of those cell phone towers pointing in the operation of Beach and 341 Elizabeth Street while they're operating in that area. That's all I'm saying is use that information against the other evidence that you've already collected.
All right. And again, just trying to clarify. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Nothing further.
All right, you may be excused, Detective. Thank you.